Today we're going to talk about how NDEs can really share something incredibly deep and deeper than you might have thought looking at them firsthand. I'm Silvia Isachsen and I'm excited to be here. This is a live stream. I will be making more videos for this channel based on my new book, The Universe Is You. I just want to check out the chat for a moment just before we start. All right. Okay, I see that you're all there. Let me know if you can hear me and see me. Hi, Nufi. Hi, Maria. Hi, Craig. Good to see you. I always love to know if you can hear me before I start. That way I can adjust things if need be. Okay, so today's broadcast is going to be mind-blowing because it's going to include some information that you may not have thought about before, and I hope that it's something that you can use. So here, let me just check this chat first before I get going. Yeah, okay, good. And I'll check online to see if I'm streaming. Oh yeah, okay, good. Thank you, Nufi. All right. So I have something new going on here, and I want to show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to start off with this image here. And this is the image that I used for my thumbnail, and this is something that I want to share with you, that many near-death experiencers, when they pass on or they pass through the tunnel, they all have something in common. And I started to think about this since I had the dream in Sedona, which was the motivation for writing the book, The Universe Is You. I started to think about this. The original thought was, how is it that Jesus appears to everyone, or most of the people who have the NDEs? I recognize some NDEs are a little bit different, but you might agree, let me know in the chat, that most say that they encounter some kind of being, and usually it will be Jesus that comes to them. It just depends. Anyhow, I started to think about that and think, well, how is Jesus showing up everywhere? So now let's take it fast forward and say, how are your relatives all showing up? So these people are, either friends or relatives of the people who are having the near-death experience, and they come to meet them. And here's where things get a little different. Now, what if you've ever really thought about this and you've watched NDEs quite a bit, what if these people reincarnated? Did you ever think about that? Like perhaps your great-grandmother, when you died, it's perhaps maybe let's say you died at 100, and your great-grandmother, maybe she would have reincarnated. Have you ever had those thoughts? Well, I want to take it a step further. And if you've read the first 3 chapters of my book, I think you might know what I'm about to get to here. And that is, let me just move this over here. And that is that it may be that you are the creator. It's not maybe. I do believe this firmly, but I want to make sure you have the chance to make up your mind, yes or no. But what if you created those characters? What if those were all characters that you created and they all came to meet you? And I'll tell you why I say this. Don't you find it interesting that there's no speaking? It's all telepathic. So this communication is happening within you. You're not actually using words. You don't actually have your body. And if you recall, in my book, I talk about when Jesus asked me to look in the mirror and all I saw were planets, stars, and the universe. And he said, exactly, that is who you are. So if you're just watching this and you're new to me, you may want to read the book when it comes out. This will make more sense. Anyways, so these people are communicating telepathically, just like the dreams I had where I was talking to my deceased father, my deceased grandfather. They weren't moving their lips. They were communicating very clearly. However, they were doing it telepathically. And here's the next thing. The next reason why I believe that these beings that are coming to see the people, you, after you pass away, let's go back to this for a moment. these people here, may be characters from you, is because there's other factors such as, for example, I'm just checking in the chat here for a second. I want to make sure. Oh, hi, Crispy. Hi, yep. Anywhere from Jesus to all the cosmic. Right. Good. You guys are engaged. That's great. Feel free to post any questions, and every so often I'll take a look and answer them. So these characters are coming and they're showing up to you speaking telepathically. And then the next part that I was going to mention was that in your near-death review, in the near-death review that we've heard of and will be experienced, something interesting happens. You feel what the other person felt, whether you brought them joy or sadness or pain or love, whatever. You feel those exact feelings that they're feeling, and then you also feel your own. So this is a very telling part. This is a very telling part because when you really think about it, so you have all the thoughts in your mind and they have all the thoughts in their mind. But what if it was one? What if, in order for you to have a fulfilled experience, like one of the dots on the ruler in my book, what if you created more characters? You know how they say, oh, you come as an incarnation and you're this one being. Well, we now know that we are eternal, and we also know that we are not our life. We are Alpha and Omega, and that this one experience that you're experiencing can be divided into multiple characters. So that's kind of a mind bender, but you could be your wife, your brother, your sister, all those things. And then when you pass out of this experience into your overall being, you are now met by sometimes just a few people, sometimes Jesus, sometimes all of them. But the Jesus Christ that you're meeting, I believe, is the Christ consciousness in you. Now, that doesn't mean I don't believe in Jesus, or I absolutely think that Jesus is amazing. And as I was traveling through my spiritual journey, awakening, it was Jesus' words that, and also he was in my dream. So I have a great regard, respect, and love for Jesus. However, in my dream in Sedona, I came to understand that that was the Christ consciousness within me. So I'm going to read a comment here. Well, if we believe that we created our characters before we came here to have an experience, then it's very possible that we also created the other characters in the ethereal realm. Correct. So, yes, Newfie, your mom, your dad, all these characters in your life, they are there of your creation so you can learn from that experience, which takes me to contracts that people talk about, like life contracts. So these life contracts that you have, it's actually an entire setup and scenario for you to experience specific experiences so that you can grow spiritually. Now, that begs the question, are we alone in this universe? Well, regardless of which way you look at it, there's still all these characters. You're still experiencing them. You still feel love. You still are Alpha and Omega. But I think now with these near-death experiences that, in my opinion, we could take it to the next level. I've watched a few lately just to pay attention to what they're saying. They're actually saying it. They're actually saying some very in-depth, and I tried to get them on here, but what I mean is their videos on here, but I can't get the sound, so it doesn't really work. Interestingly enough, when I sent out the email today, Jim Bruton, who is an NDE and a friend of mine, he's been on my channel in one of my interviews. He said, Silvia, you're right about this. You're right about this mirror stuff. And then he was saying, watch out for what you wish for and want. Well, thing is, if I'm the creator of my reality and the creator of the characters, then I feel just fine, because I feel like anything that I create is either going to be happening for me so that I can learn, or something that I can enjoy. And if it's not, then it's definitely something that I can learn from. Okay, so let's just check and see some comments here. Alone, but never alone, says Craig. Something of a paradox. Exactly. So I want to show you something that also played a part in me awakening to this. Not just the dream, but let's see if I can make this happen here. So I'm going to turn on this media source for a moment and play it. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So this is the universe. And I did a little studying since last week. And there are many comparisons, scientific comparisons by astrophysicists, and also, I think there was a couple of extra S's there, astrophysicists, as well as a neurosurgeon. And what they did was they hit the button. Yeah. Hit the like button. What they did was they compared the brain to the universe. Now, I hadn't seen this before. This has been out for a while, but I think I heard of it once, but I never made the comparison until I had the dream. You are the universe. So the fact that your brain is being mirrored and projected onto the universe as a creation, wow, just wow. Can you actually believe this? I mean, these are scientists making a relationship, like quite a solid relationship. And what I'll do after this video is I'll put down the actual papers that this came from, and you can read it for yourself. I was like, are you kidding me? This is like crazy. I mean, the dream that I had and the awakening that I'm having is real, and there's scientific evidence to back it up. Maria says, looks like the central nervous system. Exactly. They're saying that your brain, the neurons in your brain, how they group and how galaxies group are virtually the same. There are some very, very minor differences, and that's because we haven't caught up to everything that, everything about the universe. And now I just want to show you, maybe we'll stop this one and start this one. Yeah. And I'm using some new technology here, so bear with me. Let's play this for a moment. I have to go over here on my browser and play it. There we go. Can you guys hear this? Let me know in the chat if you can hear this or not. That's the problem with showing you. So they're comparing the brain and the universe here. And this is what I saw when Jesus asked me to look in the mirror. Very similar to this. So this is actually our brains. I'm kind of in the way here. Let's see if I can move myself. I think I'll be able to do that. There I go. Okay, so 75% matter in our brains is water. And in the universe, 75% of matter in the universe is dark matter. I mean, the relationship is crazy. If I don't catch every single one of your messages, by the way, it's because I'm trying to pay attention to all these things. So our neurons are connected in the same way that galaxies are connected. And they shape our, that shapes our thoughts and feelings and emotions. And thoughts, feelings, and emotions are what create our reality and the relationships that we have. So after I levitated, yeah, that's right. So after we pass away, out of curiosity, oh, you guys can hear this? The music? Okay, cool, good. So when scientists compared the human brain with the universe, let's take a look and see what they came to a conclusion of. The resulting images looked strikingly similar. So I'll just stop this one here, just in a second. Scientists have also found Here we go. Let me just, the distribution of matter in space is similar to the cerebellum neural network, so of your brain. So let me get back to the big image here, the main image. Mind blown, okay? So we've got NDEs saying that they've met people, their past relatives, when they go to the other side. You have me having a lucid dream of seeing Jesus Christ, him talking to me and telling me this. Now, I'm of course I want to build a case for it because I experienced it, but I understand not everybody experienced this and how mind-bending it can be. But at the very crux of it, the most important part, it's all very unsettling. Yeah, I felt that way too, Maria. I really did. So I don't blame you for feeling that way, but here's the beauty of it. Here is the good part. The good part is if you're ready for it, you are in charge, literally, of your eternity and of every experience that you have. You can come back as like a family of 100. You could be by yourself. You could be with, and you know, we always got to talk about that hell thing, don't we? Because everybody always talks about that. Well, what about that? Well, the thing is if you've met people here on Earth that are experiencing so much turbulence that it feels like that, doesn't it? You know, and maybe you've experienced it yourself. There are places in our imagination, and that's why Jesus lifted up that sign in my dream and said imagination, because whatever you can imagine is possible. That's literally the truth. So we've got these keys here. Imagination. Now, if you love yourself and you're not afraid of yourself and creating your reality, this is good news because it's all in your hands. And then if you have limitations like you don't have enough money, you don't have enough love, you don't have enough whatever it is that you want, circumstances, you have to understand that those are just simply limitations and opportunities, I want to emphasize that, for you to learn and grow from. So not being able to have it feels like a barrier. So with that barrier, you can work through it, either in this experience or other experiences. And FYI, if that's the truth, if what we're saying is the truth, then there are characters who have what we want in this lifetime, but we are observing them outside of ourselves. We haven't connected enough with that in order to bring it into our own lives. So whatever we're not sure of, or what we don't like, or what we don't fully have faith in, it always appears outside of ourselves in someone else's character versus us. So we don't want to assimilate that or process that fully because it's a limiting belief. So then we create separation. Now this separation, the Indians talked about it, the Indian gurus. There are plenty of different religious sectors that talk about singularity, duality, so on and so forth. They are alluding to the same thing, but I think, and I'm not sure, and I don't want to get ahead of myself here, but what if there's something beyond what we've known through these religions? What if we are the creators creating? And like Maria said, it can feel a little unsettling. And Craig said, I haven't had such an experience, but intuitively it feels right. Yeah, we are the creators of our experience. Now, I want to talk about synchronicities and deja vu and all of those things. Or, you know, when you buy a car, you see everybody has that car. I mean, there are plenty of hints and intuitive insights that come to you, but because we're so steeped in forgetting who we are and into the experience, it's easier kind of to live that way, but we also become victims of our circumstances. So we think, oh my gosh, this happened because this financial thing, this health thing, and you look at it as though this happened to me and it's a bad thing versus this is a creation in my experience. Ideally, I was supposed to learn from it, and if I haven't learned from it, I can heal. And what did Jesus Christ say about healing? Through your faith, or by your faith, you are healed. that seems pretty magical, doesn't it? It seems almost too easy, too good to be true. And then the next part that's super exciting to me is the resurrection. So with Easter here being here, happy Easter, everyone. The resurrection isn't just about Christ dying, if you believe it or not. I'm not trying to challenge what you believe, but it's about you awakening and coming to the realization and having the resurrection that, hey, it's me. I'm alive. I am the truth, the way, and the light. I have the Christ consciousness within me. And this seems very upsetting. Well, I mentioned this in my last video. Excuse me, I'm just going to drink some water. I mentioned this and a lot of people got upset. Do you remember that? Forgetting that I am also on the journey along with you. I'm not trying to tell you this is how it is. I'm telling you, hey, I'm figuring this out. And I love you guys because you're figuring it out with me. Clearly, you're characters in my story, which I totally appreciate. So whenever I talk about being the creator or having Christ consciousness or anything to do with that, it's quite upsetting to many people because they think that it's blasphemy, or I'm saying that I think, somebody called me arrogant in my comments. And I totally understand that, because if you would have told me what I know now 10 years ago, it would have been hard for me to wrap my head around, particularly because I've had that experience personally. Speaking to the Christ consciousness, it makes it a little bit easier, but you have my experience. You have all the NDEs. And I want to bring up one more factor. When I dreamt of my dad, and my dad had passed away, and he came to me and he was on the couch and he looked all young, of course, because that's what we see of these people. He said something interesting to me. He said, I had my turn, now it's your turn. And I thought, what does that mean? At the time, I was 27. Basically, what he's trying to tell me is that my character, I'm not the main character anymore. You're the main character. I've moved into the shadows. You are now doing this. You have to take on the role, the symbolic role of being the main character. When you are younger, your parents are the main characters, generally speaking, depending on, what's happened in your life or your upbringing. But your parents are usually, or your guardians, are the ones that are taking care of you. And I had, I've talked about this before, not a great relationship with my mom. And that is the maternal part of me. And if you have a difficult relationship with your father or your mother, that's actually you working out the sums of the experience, the relationship between you. And even with my daughter, whom I love very much, a lot of times I can tell that she represents my inner child. Things that I don't do anymore that she still does, for example, without divulging too much. But yeah, so I recognize my inner child in her, and I see it from a distance. So that character of her allows me to see myself the way I used to be. See? Okay, so it says something. I'm reading something here. Daniel, I created you to help me fill the gaps of understanding as you created me to help fill in the gaps of your understanding. Yes, I'm so happy to see you here, Daniel. Yeah, you know why, for many reasons, but I'm so grateful to have you here. Another thing I want to talk to you about is how guilt and sickness and all those things we experience. I experienced a ton of guilt because I'm a sensitive person. And even the other day, I had a few emails sent to me and I just shot back. It wasn't mean what I said, but it certainly didn't have 100% intention of love. So I had a dream that night. I felt so guilty. I had a dream and I was squeezed. And that's because I know that I wasn't responding to the characters. I should have been completely understanding. Look, this information, It's like mind-blowing. I feel it. I know it. I'm experiencing it too with you. But what a great opportunity for us to grow with this info. Like, you could create your own, you could create anything within yourself and all the characters outside of you. Now, I do believe that the characters outside of you play roles to help you have that interaction and those contracts that you made. And then what happens when you leave this experience? All of the characters join you, and who knows how many characters you've created. When Jesus Christ showed me the ruler in my dream, which I put in the book, it had dots on it. And he said, look, don't, if I could say this in everyday words, get it straight, Silvia. You're not the dots. Those are your experiences. You are Alpha and Omega. And I'm like, I'm going to live for that. Like, I'm eternal. People worry about getting old, or they worry about aging and things changing and not, but I think we need to change our scope and understand and grasp eternity and how we live for an eternity, and start having fun with our creations. That if I came with a message, the message is, I want you to have more joy. I want you to feel more empowered. I want you to have the tools and the equipment within you, the mental fortitude and the foundation to understand that you are empowered. And I want that for me too, and I want that for all the characters who come along. And I don't ever want you guys to feel alone and lonely, because first of all, there's all of us. And secondly, we created, 8 billion characters on this earth? Maria says it's actually empowering, this concept. Yes. And at first I didn't like it. Like, I was like, what? When something bad happened to me, I'm like, well, I know this stuff, and bad stuff still happened. What's going on? Like, what's out of alignment? What's not authentic? What's not syncing? Well, I want you to know that, what if you looked at things that you think are bad differently, as opportunities? What if we could, evolve and advance our thinking? Look, we know that the universe reflects the brain. We know that about the mirror principle. Actually, I just found out that the mirror principle is something that was already out there. So all of these concepts are floating around separately. I'd like to unify them all so that we can use this to create to our advantage, to expand, to move along. The other thing that I found interesting, I'm going to read yours, Newfie, in a moment. The other thing is that I heard Edgar Cayce talk about, and Edgar Cayce was an author. You may recognize him. Let me know if you do in the chat. But Edgar Cayce was known as a sleeping prophet, and he would go to sleep, and he would have these experiences, and I resonated with him because that's when my experiences happen. They happen in my sleep. So anyways, he talked about how the planets are not outside of you, the planets are inside, and all the influences of Venus, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, and all this astrology is it's actually the movement within you, how the solar system that is close to us, there are many galaxies, but the solar system moves through us and defines in part our identities and our characters that we create. And that's why we're so fascinated with astrology. So you can see there's information in astrophysics, there's information from neurosurgeons, there's astrology, there's all these different areas, but why can't we unify them? Religion. Okay, so I just want to go ahead. You guys have a lot to say, which is great. If you go through life believing the theory that you are a physical being having a spiritual experience, or a spiritual being having a physical experience, the end games are very different. Exactly. So here's the thing. I don't want to upset you, but not only am I saying this through the experience I had with Jesus, but also physics says this. Physics says something like you're 99.8% space, and your particles, like there's so much space between them. Well, I'm going to tell you, I have a very strong suspicion that we are not physical. We are appearing physical, just like the other characters appear physical, because it is part of a playing out. And if you think about going to a play here on Earth, isn't it funny how that mirrors exactly what we're talking about right now? So we know about a play, we know about the characters, we know that they're just roles and they go home and they're regular people. But what if you applied that very same system onto us? What if we're playing all these roles and being these characters, and then when we're done, we go home, recalibrate, appreciate all of our experiences, be in Christ consciousness, feel the joy, feel the love. How much pain and sorrow can we dissolve through this type of understanding that we are those characters? Somehow we're able to project out many very insightful concepts, but when we are unable to put them within ourselves, we get so wrapped up. I'm including myself in here. Like, some things happen, but when you really dig down to what has happened, if you question why something bad happened to you, you can sometimes many times find the reason, what triggered this kind of activity that caused that experience. By the way, I'm really enjoying having this conversation with you. And Craig said, I'd read somewhere, I think it was PMH Atwater, that the corpus callosum in the most complex structure in the universe. Sorry, I don't have my glasses on. I could wear my glasses. Let's see here. I usually don't wear them online. Yeah, but I get the gist of what you're saying, Craig. Yes. So, like, many people are saying this stuff, but they're not putting all the pieces together. And that's what I would like to do for you. I want to tell you that you are amazing. You are a creator. And it makes me laugh now when people say, oh, I want to learn how to manifest. I mean, are you the best manifester ever? You can manifest yourself. You can manifest circumstances. You can manifest your mother and father. You're manifesting characters in your life, the days of the week, the sunshine, the moon. And I think this is why we feel so connected. Like, a lot of people, including myself, feel very connected to the moon and the moon phases. Yeah, because that's a part of my being. And when you think about the moon and how it moves water on Earth, it creates waves. It moves you as well, because you are the one doing all the moving. You are the one going through your cycles. You're going through cycles within this experience, but you're also going through cycles above and beyond that. And I hear a lot of people say, I want to get out of the rebirth cycle. I don't want to be in the birth cycle. And I always found that it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because I don't know why, but it just did intuitively. So what is creation? If God created us in his/her image, then we are creators. That statement alone tells you that. And so if you're creating characters, I feel like we should be more grateful. And I think we should be more creative. And I think we should step up to our role. And I think we should stop procrastinating. I'm talking to myself here. I'm not telling you. I think we should be much more creative, much more abundant, create with our hands. We need to really create. Instead of sitting back on the sidelines, blaming all of our characters, which are just us, I think we could be great creators. Yeah, I'm pretty stoked about this in my life, and I've written this in this book. I have no idea how this book is going to go over. I'm not kidding you. I'm not sure, but I'm putting it out there. I already have it up on Amazon. I just have to do the cover, and, well, I actually have to still do the final proofreading of the last 10 chapters. I wish that you guys could help me with that. But what happens is, when I put it out there, so many people have so many different ideas, it just makes it more complicated. So I think I'm just going to have to sit here over the weekend and over the next few days. Okay, so let's see what you have to say. Daniel says, yes, create. Craig says, and there are plenty of YouTube videos about the soul trap. Yuck. I agree with you, says Newfie. And then Daniel says, perhaps we're always manifesting and always changing. Yes, that's what we're doing 24/7. And for some reason, I'm able to see it in my dreams. So when I go to sleep, I'm going into some kind of conscious realm where I'm playing out some of the more like, and you might have done it too, you might have astral traveled or had these experiences. Even last night, I had kind of a disturbing dream. There was something that was concerning me, and the dream came to me, and it played right out. I mean, I can't hide from myself. My consciousness wants to just come right in and tell me, hey, you're thinking about this, and this is what's going on. And I'm like, oh, can I just hide? And that's what we do, is we hide in characters, and we hide in circumstances and situations. So I'm here to say that the resurrection is not just for Jesus Christ, but it's for the Christ consciousness. And somebody brought to my attention, I think it was a client of mine. I also help other people start YouTube channels, and I have this client who's a pastor. Ironically, two of them actually. I'm not sure how I'm attracting this, but there are two pastors, and he was saying that Christ showed up looking different in the garden after the resurrection. And I thought, what if it's Christ consciousness? Why do we limit ourselves to one vision of Christ, even though I love the vision I have of Christ? What if you are Christ? That's pretty bold. I even feel bold saying that, but I actually know it. I know that there is such a deep love in me for myself and for you and for all the tenets of the Christ ship. And I think walking in Christ would make us better characters. And I think that if we could envision ourselves in the status that we truly are in this experience, we would be so much better off. But instead, what I find that we're doing is, just let me do a little mix up here for a second. I want to move this and see if this works. All right. So instead, if we could imagine ourselves, I want to put this up here. So the people are on, this is off, and move. There we go. If we can imagine that we are all those characters and understand that we can love one another. They always talk about in near-death experiences, and I have experienced this personally. You know where you go to that, they talk about going to that black space and how they feel love and stuff? I felt it. I was there. It was so incredible, you guys. I didn't have a single worry. I absolutely loved anyone who showed up in this space, because not realizing what I know now, all of these characters are part of the Christ ship and are part of your experience. And this is why Jesus said, love one another as you love yourself. I said it last time. I will say it again. He said it. He wrote it. And somehow we missed the memo. We missed the message that that's how it is. And also, I'm getting kind of a little too fancy here. Have you ever thought about, oh, please work. Oh boy. Okay, there we go. Have you ever thought about when you say in the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen? So I was raised in a Catholic environment. Not fully. My parents were they moved to North America and they kind of abandoned their religion. But I did go to catechism in Italy, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. That center is you. That's you. There are some great truths in religions, and that's why I don't slag any religion. I think every religion is a stepping stone towards self-awareness. People who want to learn about a religion are trying to open their awareness. They want better for their characters. So I love them all. But I also want people to know that you are in charge. And if you see outside of yourself characters warring and all this stuff, and this is very unpopular, but I'm going to say it, all the division that you see outside of yourself it starts from within, and it's just an opportunity to learn and to grow. So I noticed that there's a lot of political stuff going on. And if you analyze a little bit deeper when you're wanting to pick a side, because I think we all kind of want to pick a side, don't we? Instead of saying, oh no, I'm going to love both characters, how about love yourself, and you won't have to experience those divisions outside of yourself. You don't have to pick or choose, and you don't have to like either. You just have to be able to understand that you are it. You are it. I mean, I can't tell you how happy I am. Like, I'm literally happy for you and for me for coming to this realization. But this dream was in 2020 November, so this is like years ago. It took me a while. At first, I was like, oh my God, I dreamt of Jesus, and this was so good. And after a while, when that euphoria faded, like I write in my book, I was like, well, life is still kind of like, there's some, part of my language, crappy spots in life. Why is this still happening? I dreamt of Jesus. He told me everything, but I didn't quite get it. It hadn't sunk in. The neurons all didn't connect. And now they're connecting, and it's on fire. I feel like I'm on fire, like the Holy Spirit. I feel like I just want to love everybody, especially myself, because I know I'm the origin of all the characters around me. And when I see people, I love them because I know that they're manifesting parts of myself, automatically generating, no effort, zero effort, manifest all day long, all the time, 24/7, every second. That's who you are. And let's swap out the word manifesting for creator. How about that? How about if we just call ourselves what we are? We are creators. So that's my message for today. I'm going to read a few of what you guys wrote, and then I'm going to head out and enjoy this Easter weekend, thinking about the resurrection of right now, the awakening, and the awakening to Christ, and your Christ consciousness, and your Christ being, and your godliness. Imagining and knowing that you are God brings a whole new level of joy, responsibility, empowerment. Wow. Okay, let's just read some here. Yes, Maria said something. Maria has been saying, we are a miserable lot. I think we should embrace being more joyful in spite of what's happening. Yeah, wait a second, Maria. Good point, except for it's not in spite of what's happening. We're making it happen. That's the thing. It's the conflict within. This is why we came. We came to work out that conflict within. Now, you could argue that and say, well, we were perfect because we are God. But we're still having experiences. Why we're having the experiences, I'm not 100%. If we are God, why are we having these experiences? Well, think about this. Why do you watch a movie? Why do you listen to a song? Why do you do anything in your life? Because you were pleasing yourself generally. Like you want to have entertainment, you want to have friends, you want to have a spouse, you want to have a good relationship. You want all these things. Why? Why couldn't you just be happy sitting in your home? Because it is the nature of the Creator to enjoy itself, through experiences. The sad part is when we get stuck. The sad part is when we think we are victims. And you can really go down a deep rabbit hole of victimhood. I mean, I think that when I came to this experience, to live this experience, oh man, there was so many things to be a victim about. One victim, this, that, they didn't love me, this. No more. I know it's a story, and it felt very real. It may have been real in the realm of all possibilities, but it is no longer, because now I realize who I am, who they are. And yeah. Okay, let's read something else. Daniel, yes, Maria, I heard someone say how grateful they are for the sorrow. I have been, something happened recently where it involved me and my husband, and it was pretty heavy duty stuff. And not between us, but if you could say to us. But it's been going on for 2 years, and it really impacted our lives. And actually, this terrible thing that happened, this is primarily to my husband, so it's his experience, which he is my character. We really dug deep. We talked about it. We talked about it in the evening. We talked about it in the day. At first, we went through the whole range. Look, I'm not here to try to pretend to you that everything's okay every day. But I will say with 100% confidence, it's getting so much better. Now that I feel empowered and I realize the nature of reality, I feel so much happier. And as a matter of fact, that experience has enriched mine and my husband's life very much. And just like every marriage, without divulging too much, there's ups and downs. However, I don't feel any downs. I'm getting it. It's happening. Living synchronized, living authentically, living in alignment, living with the knowledge of who you are brings you so much more joy. So I'll leave you with that. Happy Easter, happy joy, happy foundation, happy Christship, happy all those things. Resurrection. And I hope that this brought an awakening to you. I love you all. If I didn't get to your comments, please email me and I will get back to you. If you do want to email me and you don't have my email, it's support@silviaisachsen.com. Have a great day. Peace be with you. That's the last thing that Jesus Christ said was peace be with you. I'll say that to you. It makes more sense now. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to comment and, all those things.